podcast. This is your host, Hatch, with my boy.
Man, that's so lame.
Hey, your face is lame. We got this Christmas Grinch in the building. We got an ugly face with a beautiful sweater.
We have this beautiful face right here, Katelyn Ohashi, and you're like, welcome to Getcha Popcorn Ready. Another episode. Come on, bro. We got to, give it a little bit more energy.
First of all,
bro.
Swallow your food that's in your mouth, first of all. You know what I'm saying, Kay? He like, you got red velvet going everywhere. You know what I'm saying? First of all, do that. Second, let's welcome Katelyn Ohashi to the stage, to the building, to the podcast, to everything. How are you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Hey, Bruin.
UCLA Bear.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no, that's Cal.
No, you guys are, well, it's a Bruin, but the Bear. So
okay, yeah, you're right, you're right.
All that stuff. So
no, correct him. Yeah, it's not a bear.
No, I know it's not the Bear.
It's a Bruin.
The Bruin. Same. Baby Bear.
Yeah.
Right, Baby Bear. So, no, thank you for coming on, though. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
You know, so I know you've been doing nothing since you're not tumbling anymore, so I know you have time. So what's been going on lately, though, in your life?
I've been traveling a lot.
Okay.
So I've been to Sweden and Amsterdam.
Wow.
I was just in Mexico.
So?
I got back.
Sweden.
We're hating. Yeah, we're hating right now. Okay.
I
So
want to go some of those places.
How are those trips?
So much fun.
Right.
I think Amsterdam's actually one of my favorites.
Really? I lived in
Actually,
Amsterdam before, too. Yeah.
It may be on my bucket list. Maybe one is
Amsterdam?
Yeah, I think it's on my bucket list. Yeah.
Really? Interesting.
I just went to the Maldives.
Oh, nice.
It's really nice. I want to go to like Iceland.
I've heard.
I went in February.
Really? How'd you like
Okay,
it?
honestly, don't go in the winter.
It's too cold?
Go in the summer,
But
yeah.
the thing is,
Really?
it's like it's the opposite of what it sounds like. Like Iceland is like really green, and then Greenland is like really cold.
Well, okay, it was really cold when I went.
Really
we
cold.
got stuck twice in the snow. We got caught in a blizzard. Oh, sorry. Got caught in a blizzard.
All right.
Oh, what months was that? I'm gonna make sure I don't go during that.
February.
February.
So you don't
Okay.
go in
There it
February.
is. There it is.
But yeah, so
Okay.
Sweden, Amsterdam. You said that's the really good trip. So what did you do in Amsterdam?
Smoke.
Say.
I'm gonna guess that you just smoked every day.
Actually, no, but we did go out quite a bit. And
That's
that
what
was-
Amsterdam is.
Of
Absolutely.
course.
Yeah, you're a
Rode
young,
our bikes
beautiful girl. You're
everywhere.
supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we opened up the show. Get your popcorn ready with Katelyn. So let everybody know who you are, because everybody's probably watching like, who is she? What is she?
They're
know?
about to
Okay,
find out. She's a
UCLA
beast.
Bear, let him tell it. UCLA Bruin, gymnast. So let everybody know like kind of who you are, what you've done, so everybody can just really feel the vibrations in this room right now, because this is greatness over here.
We're gonna take you back, but we'll let you go ahead and start it out.
I started gymnastics when I was really young and was on the national team for 4 years and graduated in 2019 from UCLA, where some people may have seen my viral floor routine.
So when you say national team, what does that mean?
And yeah, gymnastics, I always say, is like an anomaly because there's two different ways you can go, which is either college gymnastics or national team, which means worlds and the Olympics. And so
Okay, there we go.
they don't really cross over too much because we're also a really young sport. So we peak when we're about 16. And if you don't really make the cut at that point,
age.
yeah, you kind of just go on to college and figure out from there. So I was on the national team, kind of on the path to the Olympics when I was 12, but you have to be turning 16 the year of the Olympics. So I was 4 months too young for 2012.
That's crazy.
Oh, wow.
So again, we started talking about you traveling. It seems like this is the first time you've been able to travel in your life because you started at such a young age. And when we say young, we are talking about how young?
3.
3 years old. Because the video I saw, it was this little girl. You were like this big and tumbling. It looked like this.
Like you were
This
this
is your
tall.
pillow. Like here's
I
the
still
pillow
am.
going.
You're like this little.
Right. And so, if you start that early, you didn't have a life of leisure, if you will, from then till 2019, let's say. So let's go back to when you were 3 years old. How did this whole thing, this love of this sport, start for you?
My mom did gymnastics growing up, and so I was kind of one of those kids that didn't sit still. She put me in gymnastics.
Put you in
and
the crib, you rolled up out of the crib.
Cut a backflip out of it.
She used to say I did cartwheels in her womb because I would always just be flipping and
yeah.
kicking. So yeah, I would put trampolines behind the couch and jump over the couch and climb up walls and play with toys upside down. So it kind of was just really fitting and kind of love at first sight. So fell in love with it, couldn't get me out of the gym, and I started progressing really fast. So I was competing when I was 5, and there were no elite programs in Washington at the time. So we kind of had to make a decision, like, are we going to move away to pursue the Olympics or stay in Washington? And
so how do you just go from like 5, loving it, to pursuit of the Olympics at that age? Like, who thinks about the Olympics at age?
Because it's a young sport.
At age 5,
so they were already
though.
planning it out, right?
Pretty much. Okay, I was 9 when we decided to move, so not exactly 5, but still really
right, but
young,
that was a competition.
right?
That you said you started competing kind of around.
Started,
that, right?
yeah. And I guess I was kind of good.
Oh, you were great, but let's say at that point at 9, you're probably what, top 20 in the world or top 50 in the world? Like, how would you say?
Well, it's hard to kind of know then because you're not competing against the whole world or the country even. I feel like it's like
Kinda
Western
local or regional.
Eastern, yeah.
Regional, okay.
So I don't know, but I was winning a lot of competitions, I feel like, at that point were in my section. So I got looked at from another coach in Missouri, and kind of they evaluated me, said that I had the talent. But you know what? The one thing that he told my mom was she didn't say she wanted to go to the Olympics, which most kids really want to. So you'll hear little 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, they're all like, I want to go to the Olympics.
They don't
That's
even know
my
what that
dream.
is.
They no idea or what it entails.
Yes.
And I think maybe I already knew what it entails.
Right.
Not
Because you've been
not for
doing
me.
this and you know what the work ethic's going to be, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's okay. So what was your your workouts? Like, again, because I know I've heard of these crazy hours. Like, we think that we work out 2-3 times a day for 2 or 6 hours, but I've heard gymnastics going 8 hours, 12 hours, things of that sort. So what's your workouts like back in the day?
We did 7 hours a day, so it was 4 hours in the morning, and then 3 at night.
Okay.
So I gave up school pretty much when I was 12, and just focused on gym full time.
Right. So you get done with the gym, you go home, you rest, sleep, eat, then you go back to the gym.
Kind of hop on the computer, do some homeschooling.
Right. Okay.
Okay, you got to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Like,
I
For like
studied it
30
from time
minutes,
to
I did a little
time.
bit. I did one paper. Right.
right.
Okay.
Not doing just nothing.
Right. So how are your grades at that point?
It was really strange. I think my homeschooling would dictate our grade on how far we were in the program, and I'm like, I can hardly do this. I'm way behind.
Yeah.
But I got into UCLA, so I guess we did okay. I did okay.
Right. You're kind of a high academic if you got in UCLA, for sure. Okay. So at 12, you're starting to figure out, Olympics, national team. Like, what's the thought process from 12 to 16, let's say, since you just missed the cutoff for the Olympics?
Yeah. So I guess at around 11, you're kind of focusing like, okay, I'm a level 10 now. Am I going to go to elite after this? So I started trying to do qualifiers. I didn't make it the first time, and then the second time I got it. So right after my level 10 season, went straight into elite. And from there, pretty much there's a championships, and that's where you make national teams. So you have to be the top 10 in juniors and seniors. So I'm a junior at this point. And I remember seeing the scoreboard, and I'm like 9th. I dropped to 10th, and then there were just like a few more people, and I just keep watching the scoreboard, and I'm staying at 10, and I'm like,
you're going to make it.
Okay.
Right.
I'm on the national team now, and I had no idea what I was doing.
Really?
Wow,
You're just sitting
really?
there watching the numbers fall.
Yeah. So we end up moving for the second time. And also, my mom and my brother came. My dad and my other 2 brothers stayed back in Washington this whole time because my dad wanted to save up for retirement. So that was also another really hard split up because I felt like, okay, gymnastics is serious now. Like, I made the whole family split up for this dream. Absolutely. And so it was a lot of pressure on me. And then...
Now, did you discuss this with your mom and dad at the time, or your brothers at the time, or you kind of just kept that all inside?
Probably more so inside. Yeah.
So that was just like added pressure without really having the conversation or the discussion. And then just, I'm sure that at that age, you're, like you said, you realize the seriousness of the sport. and like, okay, now you're causing the family to split up. Now it's like pressure to succeed.
Yeah.
Now where do you go?
Exactly.
Now where do you go?
Yeah. So, and obviously I knew like I was going to be too young for the Olympics when I was 16. So it's kind of more about like planning around that and trying to preserve my body until I was 19, which didn't happen. So when I turned 16, I had just done my first senior competition, and I won it against Simone Biles. And so
Woo, you the shit.
Yeah.
You beat Simone Biles?
Yeah.
What?
Yes, I did.
LJ is my daughter. She loves Simone Biles. She loves Simone. She beat Simone. Google her.
I think I was one of the last ones too. So she's been undefeated for 10 plus years now.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
So after that, I remember I came home and I just started bawling. My mom's like, what's wrong? Like, you just won the biggest competition of your life. Like, why are you crying? And I was like, I'm in so much pain.
Your body.
Yeah. I had torn labrums, both shoulders, and my vertebrae at that competition was sticking out. Like I remember sitting there every day. It was getting worse and worse, and I'm like, I just ran my finger down my spine, and I feel it protruding. I'm like,
wow.
As a trainer, I'm like, is this normal? She's like, that's bone. So no, it's not.
So what the trainer wasn't. They're supposed to take you out at that point, right? Or you were kind of saying it's okay. I want to play type of deal.
Yeah, I don't think getting taken out is an option.
Right.
You just kind of have to push through. I remember, like, if I do see it sometimes on the screen, like, you can see, like, my face just constantly fighting, holding back tears. Like,
wow.
I can do this. But yeah, so it was actually a really hard competition, and I didn't have a lot of support in terms of, trying to protect my body. So when I got home, I remember I was just like, my coach didn't want me to go to the doctor to figure out what was wrong.
Because
wanted me to keep pushing.
He knew what was wrong, obviously,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So finally, I just had to go in on my own and, like, figure it out. They told me that I might not ever do gymnastics again. And I remember that was the first time I felt relieved. And I was just like, I hated the sport for so long at that point because it felt like I was doing it for everyone around me, that I was happy that I couldn't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not the case, because they're still going to say, I'm making you do it. Easy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So I was in the gym every day still in my back brace going in.
Really? So where's the
crazy.
point
That's
where you feel like, okay, I need to have a voice to speak up for myself as far as the pain that you were going through? Like, was there ever a point that you felt like you could speak up and be like, I can't do this, or you felt silenced because
The surroundings.
right, yeah.
I definitely felt more so silenced. I think, like, I remember going into the office and just, like, breaking down, and my coach telling me, like,
Get back out there.
Yeah, well, what do you want me to
Rub
do?
some dirt on it, get back out
Yeah.
there. Now, are you guys getting paid at this point?
You see that face, boy?
Because that's, so why?
Boy.
So why are we going back out there? Is my point. Right? If they ain't paying me, NFL, they paying you $10 million, and the coach says get back out there is one thing. You're not even getting paid at this point.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I never did it for the sport.
Right.
I
You
feel
just
like
realized you were good at it, and then you start competing at a young age, saw the success, and you just kind of kept going and going and going. But then again, you got so good at it to everybody recognize your greatness to where, like, okay.
Expectations.
Right.
Now. You got to do it.
yeah.
So you're not getting paid, and you still go do it. So tell us that thought process.
Before you ask that, do you start taking medication to manage the pain?
No, my family's kind of against pain meds, so
Okay.
all natural.
Right, yeah, because I'm asking.
So even worse.
Right, right, exactly. Because I'm trying to figure out, like, if you're running your finger down
And
your
you can
back and you
feel
can
it.
feel your spine kind of protruding, like, yo, that's got to be excruciating. And, like, you knew that something was wrong. It's like, at some point, like, you have to manage the pain somehow. Because I don't know. That's why I asked him, like, are you taking medication to manage this pain? Like, yeah, you may have a high pain tolerance.
tolerance,
You may
right.
not need as much medication as someone, but you see people and kids, using drugs to kind of mask the pain just to get through
practice,
the pains and stuff. Like we've seen saw guys do it just to get through practice, let alone games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no pain meds.
No pain
wow,
meds.
you're
All
one
adrenaline.
tough
Right,
cookie.
So when coach says go back out there and you go back out there, then what from there?
So this is now, I guess, after the competition, and I finally figured out that like I physically can't do this sport anymore. So it was another conversation with the coach. I just was in a back brace, said no to everything, and kind of just sat in the back gym for 6 to 8 months.
Wow.
And was hiding from everyone. It was a lot. I think
Right.
I gained 30 pounds in about a month.
Wow.
And I'm 16, so body change.
Yeah.
Started my
Everything.
period. Like everything is
Right.
different now. And I remember I was finally cleared, but I was getting x-rays every 6 weeks up to that point to see if my vertebrae was shifting anymore and if I was going to be able to, continue doing gymnastics. And I think it took a full year for me to finally be like, okay, all right, I miss the sport. Like you talk about why you keep doing something, and it's, I had to think constantly, like, why would I even want to do this sport? That's literally almost
Understanding the consequences.
Killing yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, I worked my ass off relentlessly for the past,
X
15
amount of
years,
years,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
right.
So I figured that I wanted to get something out of it. So it was also during that period of off time where I had to figure out what I wanted to do, what I wanted out of this sport. And so, still unsure about what I was even doing, but I kind of started getting back in the gym and slowly working on skills. But it was really humbling because here I am from the top of the sport to now I have to relearn everything. Like I can't do conditioning things.
Wow.
At parts that I didn't know could jiggle were jiggling. I'm like,
Right.
what's going on here?
Now,
So-
during that time, were your parents kind of like on the coach's side or on your side? Did they like how that? I know I don't want to get too much in that dynamic, but it sounds like
Right, but I mean-
everybody in your world was saying you have to do gymnastics.
Right, but I mean that's just that comes with the pressure of being an athlete and an elite athlete as well. I mean, in one aspect of it, you would think, okay, I have my family support that supports. Like, yeah, you may have a dream, but not at the expense of
Family.
yeah, that and your
friends,
body.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then the other part of like, okay, well, is it the family's dream to see you where you want to be, or is it a combo, or is it just what you want out of it?
And so that was kind of hard because my dad's the one that's kind of more, on my side, but he wasn't really around. So it was like my
To see
mom,
the every
who,
day.
like I said, she was a gymnast, definitely wanted to see me at the Olympics. Yeah.
Where it is.
There's the rub.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so mom was pushing you.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so up to that moment, she was definitely always on the coach's side. And I remember I'd always complain and stuff like that. And she'd be like, all of this is for your benefit. Like, this is what you need to succeed, right? And I think we've always had in our minds that you need to be pushed and pushed until you burn out.
You break.
Yeah. Which I think the sport has talked a lot about this in the past couple years. And they're trying to, make change in the sport and see a different way of success.
Right, to minimize, obviously, the injuries, the risk of injuries, and just the pain that, like you said, I mean, just hearing you explain that,
Yeah. In the body.
that sounds excruciating. I mean,
this was you, right?
right, I'm just thinking like, yo, like, I mean, like I said, I just worked out twice in a
sore,
day, and I'm
right.
sore. Like, I really felt like I was in a car wreck, but I can't understand. I mean, I can't imagine, again, what you're feeling like I said, to feel like your spine just out of whack, and you're having to tumble and twist and do all
labor's
these
torn.
things. Like, yeah, labor, like,
On both shoulders?
Both shoulders. But I didn't, so I got one cleaned up while I was in my back brace.
Right.
And then here's the kicker. I get cleared to start gymnastics again. And when I almost started getting like more skills back,
the other one went off.
pops, dislocates. I'm sitting on the floor like,
Did you know it at the time?
So how does it dislocate? How does it get out? Is it the way you're landing? Like, how does it just come?
it was so loose. I was flipping. I was doing a twist in the air setting, comes out, and I just remember my whole nerve went down my body. I'm like sitting there. I'm like, I don't even know what I hurt.
But
right
it's
now,
something bad.
I can't even move.
Yeah. I'm not moving. I know it's bad. I just don't know what it is.
Bro, this is crazy. This is on Get Your Popcorn. We only get this on Get Your Popcorn Ready. I'm telling you, you guys are watching. You're getting a treat today. I mean, to just be twirling up in the air. I mean, that's just like you getting up, going to the bathroom, and you just
and my leg fall off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let me get that. That's my leg.
Follow, yeah.
My leg. Let me.
And you looking at me like, T, I don't know what just happened.
Wow. Okay. So, so
that's
the shoulder
crazy.
goes, and then that's what, another 2-3 months of rehab, and
2-3 months rehab, come back, dislocates again.
wow, same shoulder.
Same shoulder.
Okay.
I got to get surgery, obviously.
Man, who are your trainers?
Oh, we don't have trainers. That's the thing. That's why. Okay, so talk about your pain tolerance.
Yeah.
Right.
I literally had the highest pain tolerance, I swear. And then I got to college and we got trainers. I'm like, I stubbed my toe.
Yeah. My fingernail. Yeah.
Everything hurts
Man,
now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I think they knew that, and they're like, no trainers. Only trainers when we go to national camp.
Right.
So that was every month.
Wow.
That
okay.
is crazy,
So
yo.
after that, rehab again, and then you're finally getting into like the scholarship offers and things of that sort.
Yeah, okay. So now I am just about 18 and I haven't competed in 2 years. Before this, I wasn't looking at any colleges. Most gymnasts commit when they're 15. So imagine I'm almost 18 sitting here. I don't
Not
have any
committed.
scholarships.
Right.
Most places are already filled.
Right.
So I'm trying to make calls like, look, I haven't competed, but I think I want to come to college and I want to prove it to you that I can do this. But obviously everyone's really skeptical, even though they're like, okay, we really you were one of the best in the world, but we can't offer you right on the spot. We have to see what you do this season.
Kind of like Odell Beckham Jr. right now.
Yeah.
To be
Okay.
quite honest. Are you familiar with football?
Yeah.
He's had 2 injuries right now. He's shopping himself around.
You gotta see it.
But you gotta, yeah.
You gotta see it.
I need
Yeah.
to see you run around. I mean, you
Okay.
had injury. I need to see what you're capable of doing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, where'd they come to see you?
So I think a couple of them came to practice to recruit, but then season started in January. And so I luckily was in time to start competing then. And,
Do you feel
did my
pressure?
thing.
You did your thing.
Right.
Okay, good.
So you did your thing. You beat me to, obviously, the answer. But do you feel the pressure because you've been injured, you haven't competed in a couple of years, now you're having recruits come in, look at you to kind of assess where you are, where you could be? Do you feel the pressure? Is that the beginning of the added pressure? Because again, you're trying, like you said said it yourself. Now you want to prove nobody's calling you. You're having to call college like, oh, I think I can do it.
I think more so stressed because college is a lot easier than elite gymnastics. So it's like a step.
Right there.
College is
easier than
elite?
elite gymnastics.
Way easier. That's why it's really hard to go from college to elite again because you've already taken this massive step down for 4 years. That's why you don't really see it frequently. Like some of the girls now, and NIL has helped us a lot. They can get paid at the Olympics, go to college, and now there's a couple girls that were on the team that are like, I'm taking a break from college to continue and try for 2024.
For the Olympics?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So what stretched in there? Like I said, you missed the Olympics by 4 months. Are you able to compete again at the Olympics? Or do you, what is that? Is that
she's
too
done.
far?
I'm done.
competing.
I'm like,
Right, because
yo.
is it because of the injuries? And now that's like another 3 or 4 years of training to even compete for the Olympics.
Yeah, I physically don't think my body would have been able to hold up with that much training. Like NCAA, we have like the 20-hour limit, right? Elite, we were doing 36 a week.
Double.
Yeah.
Wow. So you get to UCLA then, right? They recruit
So-
you. You do that whole thing. How that?
You call up UCLA.
Miss
okay.
Val came and got you. The legendary
Yes.
Miss Val came and got you. So
Hi,
how'd that-
Val. How are
how'd
you?
that go? She's definitely a legend. Go ahead.
We're legends. Hi.
It was hard the first couple years. I think I still hated the sport. And so I was trying to like put a smile on and be there for my teammates. but I was like physically probably doing things that weren't helping me be a better teammate, better athlete, and
Such as?
What are some of those things?
well, I mean, we're going to college, so I didn't care
hanging
about.
out.
Yeah, I didn't
Okay.
care about school. I didn't care about gymnastics. Like, I've been homeschooled my whole life. I'm going out.
Yeah, first
I'm
time you got to
socializing.
experience life.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And you're in Beverly Hills, California. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Brentwood right there.
Brentwood,
Hello.
Yeah.
Also, my mom's a health freak, so like growing up, I didn't see junk food, and we got the dining halls, unlimited
you lost
food.
your mind
I
when you got
didn't-
to UCLA. I get it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great to hear though, because again, you're getting to experience being a kid.
How many pounds did you gain?
First time. Right.
I'm trying to, because I'm like, okay, all this free stuff, access to all this food. She said she gained
eat
30
everything.
pounds
In a month.
in a month just sitting in a back brace. I can only imagine. That's what I'm at. Like, how many pounds did you gain?
Probably another 25 from that.
Dang, girl.
Yeah, talking about
Get some
freshman 50.
popcorn on that. Get your popcorn ready.
Yeah, my coaches were not very happy about it.
What?
So, but UCLA is big gymnastics school, right? So, what
Yes.
was the expectations when you came there? Were you already knew that you were not going to go for the Olympics after your senior year?
Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to go to the Olympics, and they knew that as well.
Okay.
I think expectations were still pretty high because they knew what I was capable of. Right. So I remember we were sitting down in a meeting, going around and talking about what our vices were.
Is this what meeting with the?
Is it with the team?
Team
It's a
meeting.
team meeting, yeah. And we're sitting down, talking about our vices, and Miss Val looks at me, and I answer, "I just don't want to be great again." And
Coach does not want to hear that.
But listen to what she said though. That's a lot of confidence. I don't want to be great
Yeah,
again.
but a coach doesn't want to hear.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's you
Wow,
cursing her
very-
out.
That's a curse word. F
Yeah,
you,
cursing.
coach. Basically, what you just said.
that's exactly how she felt. She's like, she felt like she was slapped in the face.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, then what the?
Are
Yeah, why
you
am I
doing here?
Yeah, why am I paying you $60K to be here?
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right.
Wow.
I remember one of my teammates spoke up after I said that, and she was like, well, imagine what she's been through. Like, everything that she correlates greatness to, it was miserable. So why would she want to be great again? And
So deep right there.
yeah, I love that teammate.
Right.
Very wise.
Absolutely. I mean, because you needed that honesty of that perspective is not your own, but somebody else saying, yes, I understand what she went through, and I understand what she's saying.
Yeah.
Right. It's crazy. Yeah. Man. Wow.
Okay, so UCLA, so then it's like, I'm going to help the team win, right? But
Yeah.
do you feel like it's a dead end at the time, or like?
Yeah, you kind of think about like gymnastics, since you know your time's coming to an end throughout college, it's like you could either think about, okay, why this doesn't even matter, or you could think like I have 4 years to put my soul and body into this sport.
Make the best of it.
Yeah, exactly. And so my first 2 years, I was probably sitting there thinking like,
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
Right.
And then towards my last two, I'm like,
I only have 2 years left. Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It goes
That's the
by
catch
fast.
22.
Yeah.
That's especially with sports, because your body eventually is going to be
I
done.
mean, especially at that age, 15, 16, you don't really realize how fast 4 years go by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your freshman year, you're taking a lot of electives, not some things towards your
just
major.
there, yeah.
You know, you just kind of you get goofing off, and then those second and third years kind of get serious. And then, like I said, if you're playing a sport, you're looking up like, oh man, I got maybe
only
2
got
more
4
years.
years,
Yeah, I'm like, yo, like it reality hits, and like, okay, it's coming to an end, Katelyn.
What was that moment like when it finally started to hit you?
a lot of things were happening, I feel like, at that point, because I started going to therapy. I started like getting.
Therapy,
I feel like
what kind of therapy? Like mental therapy, physical therapy?
mental therapy.
Okay.
Because I remember my mom tried putting me in high school, and I was not about it.
Right.
I was
What?
not about to sit there and listen to someone.
Right. Do that and go to gymnastics class, not happening, right?
I mean, it's like being in here with him, listening to him. It's like,
Yes,
I'm not
I'm a
finna listen.
psychologist.
I'm not about to listen to this.
I'm the best.
Katelyn, you gonna
I'm
listen
the
to this?
best voice he has in his head.
You listen to this all day? No, I'm like you. I'm not gonna hear this.
Don't listen to that. Don't even laugh. Katelyn, stop laughing. No, okay, go ahead.
And I also started like getting inspired. I remember my coach kind of talked to me about watching more TED Talks and not just scrolling through social media and kind of really taking in helpful information instead of just blank words and negative. So, and I actually started enjoying my classes during these times and started picking up different hobbies. So going into the gym, it made that easier because I no longer felt like I needed gymnastics to make me feel whole or like I had worth or, value to myself. So it was nice because I felt free my junior and senior year for the first time in the sport. And I knew that I wasn't doing it for anyone else in those moments. So I started having fun.
Right. So what helped you realize that? What was the moment that helped you realize that?
Was it a certain TED Talk or was it just something Miss Val said? Or
right, yeah, to make you feel like, because you said at some point you felt free.
Yeah. What freed you?
What was that turning point?
I started this course, World Arts and Cultures is a major at UCLA, and I remember people sitting in my class talking about their life stories and how a lot of them were, on food stamps, living out of their car, working 4 or 5 jobs just to go to UCLA. And I was there, free ride, and gymnastics, not that we have a lot of money, but you have to have money in order to do the sport, right? So, my mom would literally work in and out the gym just to, pay for tuition. But there weren't girls like that, like girls living out their car and, couldn't afford food. So I was never exposed to that type of lifestyle. And I was like, wow, we all have it so good. And that kind of opened my eyes a lot to my whole situation.
That's awesome. Because again, a lot of people, even when they're in the situation, they don't get to see it. But you saw it firsthand, felt it, and you really changed your life at that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't a drastic change, but it's like it sounds like those last 2 years is a life changer because, again, 3-year-old till 20-ish then, you were in a whole nother life, right? Now 21 and 22, you get to live a whole different life. Yeah. You're transitioning out of, I guess, a girl to woman type of deal. Right. Is that how you felt, kind of?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe even just a person, because before that, I didn't even feel like a person.
So, you alluded to, like, just having fun, being free. Was that, like, a matter of you being just mentally more free and, like, and even added to that, more physically, free from pain? Obviously, like I said, you're going to, that never wavered, but I'm sure you obviously felt better, obviously, to compete. As athletes, you're always like, we're never 100% healthy going than we started. So is that what, like I said, obviously the mental clarity and obviously some of the physical may not have been as bad that help you to be just like free and just do your routines and just even go into practice with a better attitude? Because again, sometimes that can factor in how you perform to how you approach practice.
My case for practice is a little interesting because I think my coach knew how bad my body was, so I didn't practice a lot. Like, I'd be in the gym doing mental imagery or talking.
Right, but then that's
hanging out.
That's mental. Yeah, that's part of it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you can't. There are times like during we played, and there are times like we want to practice, but sometimes the coach will hold us back from
hurting ourselves.
Yeah, hurting ourselves. So again, that's smart that she obviously noticed that and realized that, and then you took that approach. But like mental imagery is huge, especially in a sport where you got to go up in the air, turn out, have spatial awareness. That's not easy not to actually physically do the reps. Would you agree?
Definitely. I think most of the sport is definitely mental. And at this point, right, I've been doing it for 20 years. So I think the gymnastics came easy. And so it was all about just being mentally tough and being able to hit it when it counted. And I always told myself, I'm like, well, if I start falling in the competition, I'm going to have to start practicing. And I don't want that. So I'm going to hit it when it counts.
You better hit it. Yeah.
So which brings me to my point. Let's back up a little bit to Simone Biles in the Olympics. And she bows out because of something like the mental block that she was going through. For somebody like that beat Simone Biles, that has traveled that path to greatness in which she has, now she's on the biggest stage of the world. And explain to me kind of like what she may have been thinking and she was trying to basically convey to the world how she was having these mental blocks, if you will?
The amount of times I get asked about mental blocks when I go and speak with little gymnasts it's countless. Every single time I go to an event, they talk about that. And so I always like gymnastics, if you're scared at that age, I'm like,
you don't have a chance.
Ooh, good luck, because it's not a sport you can necessarily be like scared in. You can't hesitate. You can't like be fearful. And so I think with Simone, imagine being 24 going into the Olympics and you have all eyes on you. Like, she was probably the #1 athlete talked about going into the Olympics. Mm-hmm. So I could never imagine the pressure she was already feeling and the pressure she puts on herself, like, right?
Which is more.
And gymnastics, like I said, you can't hesitate and you can't be fearful. And if you're already in that mindset that you're struggling with your twists and then you start doubting, there's no going back. Right. And when you're at the Olympics, you don't have pits to like have soft landings. Right. It's all hard. Simone's throwing the biggest skills that most gymnasts can't even imagine doing. So not only does she have mental blocks now, she's throwing these ridiculous skills. She doesn't have soft landings. There's nowhere to practice for them.
There's nowhere to get your game back tight. Right.
She had to pull out.
Right, and that's what I was trying to understand, because obviously it was a big topic. And for me, I'm like, okay, well, I had a problem with, obviously with the idea of mental awareness, and probably sometimes athletes take advantage of the subject of it. So I'm like, okay, well, Simone Biles, she's been there, done that before. The very thing that has made her great is like now she feels like she can't do that. And
greatest strength is your greatest weakness.
Right. So it's like, okay, well, in a sense, it's admirable that, again, she's speaking up for her mental health, for her sanity. But then, again, what she did is like allowed other opportunities for, well, I can't think of her name, but she ended up winning gold or whatever. But she opened other opportunities for those other gymnasts to flourish. But it's like sometimes, like, some people, like I said, obviously it's the big topic in the subject of mental health awareness. Like, but sometimes, like, when you think about Kobe, some of the ones that are wired kind of like equally the same, that have reached the pinnacle of greatness, we didn't have mental health awareness to, like, okay,
to
lean on it as a crutch, to be like, oh, bowing out. We never did that. So that's what I was kind of struggling with. And I tried to be mindful not to, like, obviously disrespect anybody as far as what they were going through. But like you were saying, it's like sometimes your greatest strength is, it could be your greatest weakness. But I was just trying to figure out, okay, man, this is the Olympics. You know what I mean?
Like, how could you?
Right, because again, I factored in, okay, you worked 4 hard years to get to this.
20 years.
Well, but yeah,
get,
but obviously that, like,
it
was like, literally. Okay, it was like, yo, you're the greatest. Like, how can you now get at this point and feel like, okay, there's a mental block?
I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't have to, like, really think hard and, like, about what she did, because I was sitting there, I'm like, as someone, I didn't know about mental health either, at that young age, like 16 when I was in elite. Like, that wasn't a conversation. That was nothing I would ever thought about doing. And so I'm like, gosh, how could you?
Right.
Yeah.
Because again, that's why I'm asking, because I know there are some people, there's mixed feelings about what she did. And I'm like, some people, like, in certain positions, like, oh, I would never do that. Because, like I said, there are so many girls that have worked so hard to get to this point, and that have worked so hard and never got to that point, and she's at that point.
But I think it's really easy to say, right? Like, I could never.
Until you're in the moment.
Until you're in the moment and you think about, like, oh, so I could never do anything near what she's done.
Right.
So,
right.
And talking about Kobe, too, like, that's a sport you can pass the ball. Essentially, when I think about the Olympics, that's what she did. She passed the ball to the teammates, right? Suni got to shine. Her other teammates got to shine.
Yeah, that's what I looked at it. I saw that.
And I think that was actually really cool.
Right, because I think a lot of people were very critical of her at this point, and then there were some people that obviously supported her. Obviously, like I said, with this mental health awareness, that's been upon us for the last 3 or 4 years, and people speaking out on it. And obviously, Kevin Love is definitely a one. Obviously, in the NBA, that's an advocate of mental health awareness. But again, like you said, it was just like, and then the tennis player Naomi. Osaka as well. So I just want to get get your understanding, your take on what she probably could have been thinking, and what was your take on her backing out on it. Because like I said, for me, there were platforms where we discussed it, and people, obviously me being an athlete, I'm like, man, well, what is your take on it? And then I just took my approach is I can't fault her for what she did, but I'm like, man.
I think it's like the different time of life or different time of career, because it sounds like at 16 you would have never did that, but what you know today, you're like, I understand.
Yeah, and if she wouldn't have either at 16, right?
You see what I'm saying?
So,
right.
I think like you said, it's opened a lot of doors for everyone to kind of speak out on mental health, and I think it's really big. Like I feel like last year was the biggest, monumental moments in the sport.
Yeah. Right. Do you think if she wasn't the number one top gymnast at that time, would she have bowed out, or did that kind of factor into okay, I've already done this, I've been here, done that? Like I said, mental block or not.
If you've never been number one, I don't think you can think that I'll ever bow out ever, because you haven't got to number one yet.
Right. Because again, like I said, what drove her to be number one, to be the greatest, is what landed her in the Olympics.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's okay, that's why I was having a hard time. And like I said, really trying to articulate or really trying to convey really my true feelings about what she did. Because like I said, I'm not Simone Biles, like I said, but then again, I try to put my feet in her shoes and see, okay, well, if I wasn't the top gymnast and I was trending up and this is my first Olympics, would I bow out? Not really bow out, but would I?
Bow out.
Yeah, would the mental hurdle be so great then? Because the mental hurdle as she's trending up is what trended her and got her to where she is.
Yeah, but I feel like if she wasn't the top gymnast, she probably wouldn't have all the extra pressures, and so maybe she wouldn't even feel the need to bow out.
I agree.
Double-edged sword.
Definitely a double-edged sword. But I think that's why people are great, because they can handle the double-edged sword. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm glad you said that's what I was kind of getting to. That's what really kind of, propels you to being great.
Yeah.
But do you call yourself a competitor? Do you think you're competitive now at this age?
When it comes to cardio, competitive.
Really?
Always, forever and always.
Yeah, so that's going to always be there. And again, but that stems from when you were 3 and 5 and your parents pushing you to do A, B, and C. But now you're going to be competitive the rest of your life, which is going to carry you on through business and relationships, all that stuff, because you're competitive, which is, to me, a great habit to have, a great tool in your toolbox. But the people who bowed out at 3 and 5, they're going to look at the Simone Biles incident as, oh, she should never do that, because they've never been. It's like Jordan said, because you never won anything. They don't understand it. They don't want to understand it. They just want to point the finger. You know what I'm saying?
That's our generation for
that's your generation.
That's mine. Mine for sure.
So what is your passion now, outside of, like I said, I don't know, you coach, you teach. What do you do, I guess, as an outlet, obviously, to kind of, fill that void of competition or that adrenaline rush? Or you just maybe you don't have it.
That's something that I'm actually struggling with. I feel like, in terms of what's something that makes me excited, as excited as when I used to compete. Mm-hmm. And so we did the tour back last year. It finished last November. And that was kind of that little taste, being out there, doing gymnastics again, performing in front of an audience. And that's what I really love doing, is performing. So thinking of different ways that I could get out there. I have done a couple commercials now, and I feel like I thrive in that space.
Really? Okay.
I love putting on a show, and
that's what they want too. That's exactly what they want. So you're the right person for the job.
Absolutely, hired.
Exactly.
But again, it's good that, because it's that little in between of, can you find love with a little bit in the sport, but not so serious with the stress and the pressure. That's the goal of our life once we get out of the sport that we love.
So tell us about this perfect score.
Oh.
Tell us about this perfect score.
Which one?
Excuse me. The floor routine. So as you're doing these routines, do you do you know that you're doing your thing?
Do you know when you nailed it? You know when you nailed it?
Or you just have to really wait for the judges' score? Because sometimes, like, as athletes, you know, like, if we balling, we know we balling. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's the same as a gymnast.
Because it's an individual.
Right, and you're
know.
getting judged by so many people that may not see the same thing from an optics. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Exactly. I always tell myself, I'm like, my favorite floor routine I've ever done, hands down, I got a 995.
Oof. And you was hot too.
And it was better than your 10. It was better than your 10?
I think
to
so.
You, right?
To me,
to you.
Yeah.
Really? Oh. Shame on those judges. Who are they? What?
It was the last floor routine of my life. Or not, actually I haven't, So,
right.
And that's the freest moment I've ever felt. Was that floor routine. And that's why I tell little girls, like, it's cool. You can feel confident, but it doesn't matter what the judges give you.
It's all from within.
Yeah. And you try to get 1% better every single time. So that floor routine that everyone, or a lot of people know is like, I definitely fell in my bag. Like, I was in there like...
This is what I do. I've been doing this since I was 3 years old.
Go in your bag, Katelyn. Okay, go in your bag. Okay.
That was actually also a really unique moment because the music was so loud at that competition. And I remember sitting there, there's parts in my routine that are silent. And I could feel all eyes on me. And the silent parts, no one was moving. Wow. And it was so intense and crazy. I remember finishing and like, I had a blast during the meet. And when they scored the 10, I was like, all right, cool. But what's now next? On to the next one, you know.
That's cool.
Really? What I do?
Okay, listen. It wasn't my first 10. It wasn't my first
10, yeah.
Oh, excuse me, Miss KO. Okay, my bad. My bad. Ho, ho, ho. KO is in the building.
Been there, done that.
What?
Okay.
Wow.
So are you surprised, like, when other people get 10s, that you didn't get a 10 from a judge, or you just like, okay, it was pretty good?
Yeah, I feel like that's mainly how it was. My senior year, I didn't get a lot below 10s, but...
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I'm done now.
You know what you're looking at, though. You know what you're looking at.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, give us your top 5 gymnasts of all time, then, since you know what you're looking at and you know who got 10s and 9.9s, or it could be about the moment or whatever, but literally your top 10 gymnasts.
All right. Simone Biles, of course.
Awesome.
Obviously, you can't deny her greatness. And, okay, I used to train with this girl, Rebecca Bross, and she was, she won a couple worlds, and training next to her every day is the reason why, like, I continued doing gymnastics and what pushed me to be a better gymnast.
See, that's what I was waiting on early when I was asking you all those questions. I'm like, what made you just keep going out there?
The competitor in you.
I'm like, yo.
You saw it. You saw greatness.
Shout out to, what's her name?
Rebecca Bross.
Shout out to Rebecca Bross.
Yes. Okay.
I knew it was something. I got it. Maybe 20 minutes later, but I got it.
We'll edit it in so she says it after.
I'm like, yo. And I'm like, yo, because I was
like,
like, what pushing? Like, this pain. I'm like, yo, that's got to be like, you ain't got no pain, man.
My mom really pushed me,
Shout
out to moms, too.
That too.
Okay, 3. That's Rebecca Bross.
That's 2. You got 3.
Okay. Kyla Ross, who I went to UCLA with, who's also a phenomenal gymnast. She is probably the most 10s in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. In college gymnastics, for sure.
Okay, that's what's up.
All right, that's 3.
Jordan Weber.
Okay.
I've heard of her. I've heard that name before.
She has a pretty intense story, too. She was supposed to definitely win 2012 Olympics. Only 2 finalists from every country go. She, had a slightly off day. One person, Allie Raisman, had a better day that day. And swooped in. She didn't even get...
I remember the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the last one... I'm sorry. Last one... What did I say?
So you got 4. So again, this is your list. So it's not no one... It's just 5. You don't have to go 1 through 5.
Yeah.
So. Again, you can go back in the archives. You can go to your Dominique Dawes. You can go to your
Shawn Johnson,
Tracy Retton, Mary Lou Retton.
Mary Lou Retton. You know what? I never watched gymnastics growing up too much, but I'm gonna say Svetlana Boginskaya because
Russian? Russian?
Yeah.
Chewbacca, what? What's her name?
Boganskaya.
Okay.
Boganskaya?
Yeah.
Russian,
yeah, she's definitely
Boganskaya.
has changed gymnastics a lot, and she's also a phenomenal person. So
Awesome.
Well, that's awesome.
Who was the lady that was like the oldest gymnast?
Nadia Comaneci, the first 10. No, the
oldest gym.
Oh,
That was
okay,
in-
and that's Svetlana's best friend, Oksana.
Yeah, I saw her.
Really?
Yeah, she's like the oldest gymnast, and they kind of like
47, has been to like 9 Olympics.
Olympic. Yeah,
I did hear about
She
that.
No, you
retired.
did not.
I
Don't be trying
did
to-
because
don't be
you're
trying to-
why? Okay, because we know it's 16-year-olds, 20-year-olds, right? So when you see a 40-year-old,
It's crazy. How the heck? I'm
Right,
like, how is your
right.
body
How are you
still
still
surviving?
doing it?
She's
Yeah.
built different.
Right, yeah.
But
she-
also, you know what? They get paid. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, wait a minute.
Because of the country she's in, they they give you a
To
home.
represent
Yeah.
Right. to represent
The country.
I remember that. Yeah.
So here, like, I think being on the national team gives you about $12,000 in your pocket, and that's it.
And everything else has to be endorsement based. Wow.
Yeah.
And her, what would it?
I don't know.
Russian
I don't know
bank.
numbers, but I
But
do
they
know,
get
like,
paid.
you know,
They're getting
yeah.
some money, getting some coin.
Wow.
That's crazy. Well, that's we
Man.
appreciate this story, Katelyn. That's awesome.
Katelyn
Again, I
Ohashi.
love it's amazing
Oh,
that you're
man.
still walking and talking and
Man,
moving because again,
what?
your body. Our bodies are
The
tore
wear
up,
and tear,
you know.
I mean,
So
again,
we
the wear and
understand it,
tear.
we get it. But the
Yeah.
love for the sport and the love for competition is what it sounds like to me. It's very respectful.
And, yeah, that's kind of where I am. Like people are like, why are you still doing? Like I worked out with DK Metcalf, and he was like, let's meet up. We train, and he literally, I was running back. He's like, man, what makes you want to do this? And I'm like, dude, I like to compete.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you can move around, you have the ability to do it. You know what I mean? Why not?
Exactly. As long as you're able-bodied, I'm like,
Right.
that's why I started training again, and I was sitting there like, what am I doing right now? But
Sit
I'm like,
your
you know
butt
what?
Down.
right.
I wish I could run a slant right now. I can't do it.
Man, we appreciate you, Katelyn. Let everybody know where they can find you besides Google.
Yeah, and YouTube,
Ohashi,
right?
yeah, I
What's
mean-
your social media handle?
Caitlin_Ohashi on pretty much everything.
Okay.
Except, you know what? TikTok got me Caitlin Ohashi _ because I think someone took it before me.
Really?
Right.
That's a bummer.
That's when
They
you
gonna
know you're popular,
underscore
when
you?
somebody
Really?
else stole your name.
Underscore? Really?
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Get your Popcorn Ready podcast. Katelyn Ohashi in the building. See y'all next week. Peace.